Good morning, students. Today I am going to discuss about The Dear Departed by Stanley Horton. What is that? What is the meaning of the lesson? The dear departed. So our beloved one got departed. Okay, that is the meaning of the lesson. The Dear Departed by Stanley Horton. So, before going into this story, let me give introduction of this author Stanley Horton. Page number 60 in your textbook. You are going to have this lesson. Okay, now let me read it out. William Stanley Horton, he is the author of this story, was a famous English playwright, best known for his play Hindlewakes. He was leading figure of the Manchester School, which was an arts group comprised of a number of prominent playwrights in England, who were supported and encouraged by the theatre owner Annie Horniman. At the time, Horton's plays were famous for their remarkable dialogue and cutting social commentary. Here, look at here. Horton, he was famous, well-known playwright. His famous play was Hindlewakes. Okay? He was joined in a school. Actually, that school, Manchester School, it's an art school. It's an art school composed of many playwrights. It's like a number of prominent playwrights. It's composed of. In that school, so many playwrights were there. But among them, he was leading figure. And who were supported and encouraged. He was supported and encouraged by the theatre owner Annie Horniman. Okay? His plays were very famous for his dialogues. Okay? Now, coming to the Dear Departed, coming to the lesson, it's a comedy story. Comedy based on a short story by French writer Guy de Maupassant. What is that? French writer. So he had written a story. Based on that story, The Dear Departed was written by, it's a play by Stanley Horton. Okay, The Dear Departed is a comedy thing which is based on a short story by French writer Guy de Maupassant. Okay. It's one-act play. Okay. It is set in Lancashire and depicts the idea that the death of a family member can be accompanied not just by grief but by greed and a desire to maintain appearance. Okay. Dear Departed, that is death of a family member. So if somebody, our beloved one, if he got expired, so even no one can express their grief and sorrow. Okay, it's really something that sorrow it's not measurable. Okay, its grief is not measured. Okay, now let me move to this one, The Dear Departed. Okay, before going into the story, let me go through the characters. So look at the characters in these stories. What are the characters? Look at here. Amelia Slater. Actually, look at here. Mrs. Amelia Slater. Look at here. Actually, Abel Mary Weathers' daughter was Amelia. Okay? This Abel Mary Weathers. His daughter's name is Amelia Slater. Mrs. Amelia Slater. So Slater is her husband's name. Mrs. Amelia Slater. And her sister name is Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan. So Jordan is Elizabeth's husband's name. Look at here. Henry Slater. So Slater is, who is Slater? Amelia's husband. Who is Jordan? Elizabeth's husband. Now coming to Victoria Slater. Who is this? She is 10 years old daughter of Amelia. So Abel Meriwether, actually he is a father for these two sisters. Okay, Amelia and Elizabeth, both these are sisters. Okay, so characters. So two sisters and their husbands with one daughter, 10 years old daughter. Okay, and who is the father of that? In that, Meriwether. So his grandfather to this Victoria. Victoria, she is a girl, 10 years girl. She is the daughter of Amelia. Okay, Henry Slater's and Amelia Slater daughter is this Victoria Slater. Okay, coming to the story, Mrs. Slater. It's a, let me read it out. Mrs. Slater, Victoria, they come in. Will you come in? She was saying. Mrs. Slater was saying, Mrs. Slater, I'm amazed at you, Victoria. I really am. How you can be gallivanting about in the street with your grandfather lying dead and cold upstairs? I don't know. Actually, Mrs. Slater, she is a mother of Victoria. She was calling her daughter, Victoria, come in. Will you? She was calling her daughter, Victoria. Okay, here Mrs. Slater closes the window and puts the blind straight and then returns to her work at the table. Victoria, precious girl of 10 dressed in colors, enters. Okay, she was calling her daughter, Victoria. So Mrs. Slater, look at second one. I'm amazed at you, Victoria. I really am. How you can be gallivanting about in the street with your grandfather lying dead and cold upstairs? I don't know. She was saying, Mrs. Slater. So she's mother of that Victoria. She was saying, how, look at here. How you can be gallivanting about in the street with your grandfather. Actually, Victoria's grandfather, that is Mrs. Slater's father, he was departed. So she was asking, how come you roaming in the streets? I don't know. She was saying to her daughter Victoria. Actually, Mrs. Slater's father was died. He was departed. So look at here. Victoria, what are they coming for? Actually, here, look at here. Mrs. Slater was saying that Aunt Elizabeth and your Uncle Ben come. She was saying that go and change your dress. So Mrs. Slater was saying to her daughter Victoria, you go and change your dress as your Aunt Elizabeth and Uncle Ben, they were coming to our house. Go and change. They were coming to our house. Go and change your dress. Victoria was saying, okay, why they are coming? For what reason? Mrs. Slater, they are coming to take our poor grandpa's affairs. Your father sent them a telegram as soon as we found he was dead. Good gracious, that's never done. No, thank goodness, it's only your father. So Mrs. Slater was saying to her daughter Victoria, go and change your dress as your Aunt Elizabeth and your Uncle Ben, they are coming to our house. Then Victoria was asking her mother, why they are coming to our house? So she was saying to her daughter to take grandpa's affairs, as your father had posted a telegram about your grandfather's death. So now here Mrs. Slatter hurries to the door and opens it. So here actually Mrs. Slatter actually she went towards the door and she hurried towards the door and opened the door. But as soon as she opened, she saw her husband. Okay, it's not her sister. Actually, they are waiting. Mrs. Latter was waiting for her sister Elizabeth. Who is Elizabeth? Elizabeth is Mrs. Latter's husband. Who is Elizabeth? Mrs. Latter's sister. Okay, got it? And her husband Ben. So for both of them, Mrs. Latter is waiting. So even she was saying to her daughter, your aunt and uncle are coming to our house. Okay, change your dress. So she had very much curiosity about that. So she opened the door, somebody knocked the door. So she thought that it's her sister, but it's not her sister, it's her husband. Okay. Next, Henry. Not come yet. Henry was asking. Not come yet. Henry was asking about Elizabeth. Mrs. Latter, you can see that can't you? Can't you see? Now, Victoria, be off upstairs and that quick. Go. Mrs. Latter was saying to Henry. It means Mrs. Latter was saying to her husband, can't you see? If Elizabeth is here, can't you see? And she was saying to her daughter, go upstairs and go and change your dress. Mrs. Slatter, you can see. Mrs. Slatter, I'm not satisfied. Here Mrs. Slatter was saying, I'm not satisfied, but it's the best we can do till our new black's ready. And Ben and Elizabeth will never have thought about morning yet. So well, we will outshine them there. Get your boots off. So, boots off, Henry. Elizabeth's that prying, she notices the least speck of dirt. Look at here. Mrs. Latter, she was saying to Henry, I'm not satisfied. She was saying that she was not satisfied. But it's the best we can do till our new black's ready. And Ben and Elizabeth will never have thought about morning yet. So we will outshine them there. So she was saying, Henry sits in the armchair by the fire. Okay, he was sitting in that armchair. Get your boots off, Henry. Elizabeth, okay? That praying, she notices the least speck of dirt. Henry, I'm wondering if they will come at all. Henry was saying, when you and Elizabeth quarreled, she said she would never set foot in your house again. So Henry was saying to Mrs. Latter that Henry was saying to his wife that your sister Elizabeth. So previously she said that she was not going to come to our house. Then why she was coming to our house today? Why she decided to come? Then Mrs. Latter was saying that because of the grandfather's left, because share for affair, for money, she was coming. So Henry, I suppose it's not. It's in the family. It's in the family. Mrs. Latter, what do you mean by that? Henry Slatter. So here wife and husband both are talking. Okay, Henry, I'm first referring to your father, not to you. Where are my slippers? He was asking about slipper. Mrs. Latter, in the kitchen, but you want a new pair? So she was saying, in the kitchen, do you want a new pair? Those old ones are nearly worn out. She was saying that old ones are very old. So they are near to worn out. You don't seem to realize what it is costing me to bear up like I am doing. My heart's fit to break when I see the little trifles that belong to grandfather lying around, and that think he will never use them again. Here, you would better wear these slippers of grandfather's now. It's lucky he would just got a new pair. She was saying to wear grandfather's slippers. They were talking about slippers and she was saying, you would better wear these slippers of grandfather's now. It's lucky he would just got a new pair. Okay, she was saying to her husband, Henry, they will be very small for me, my dear. She was saying, actually, here her wife and husband both were talking about that slippers. Then Henry was saying, this it will be very small for me. He was saying, it will be very small for me. Look at here. Henry was saying here. Look at here. Henry was saying, look at here. They will be very small for me, my dear. So Mrs. Latter was saying to her husband to wear the grandfather's slippers. Okay? Chappals or slippers. Henry was saying they will be very small for me. Mrs. Latter, they will stretch, won't they? I'm not going to have them wasted. So she was saying that they are going to stretch. You go and wear it. I'm not going to waste them. Henry, I have been thinking about that bureau of grandfather's that's in his bedroom. You know, I always wanted to have it after he died. He was saying that he won about the bureau of grandfather's that's in his bedroom. Okay? Actually, Henry wants that. Henry, you must arrange with Elizabeth when you are dividing things up. Henry was saying, you must arrange with Elizabeth when you were dividing things up. Mrs. Latter, Elizabeth's that sharp. She will say I am after it, and she will drive a hard bargain over it. Hey, what it is to have a low money grabbing spirit. Henry, perhaps she's got her eye on the bureau as well. Okay? Now, let me move to next. So, actually it's a conversation. Let me go through this conversation between Henry and Mrs. Latter. So, here the grandfather was died. Okay? Henry, you must arrange with Elizabeth when you are dividing things up. So, Henry was suggesting Mrs. Latter to divide whatever the grandfather's property, whatever is there, just to divide according to them. Okay? Mrs. Latter, Elizabeth's that sharp, she will see I am after it. But Mrs. Latter was saying to her husband, my sister, she is very sharp lady. And she will drive a hard bargain over it. And here Mrs. Latter was saying, no, my sister Elizabeth, she is very sharp and she bargained for each and everything. Henry, perhaps she's got her eye on the bureau as well. Actually, Henry was saying he was very much interested in bureau. And Henry was saying that even this Elizabeth, she is going to have eye on this. Okay, here, look at here. Next, Mrs. Latter. What is this? She's never been here since grandfather bought it. If it is only the down here instead of in his room, he would never guess it was not our own. Henry, Amelia, he raised. Mrs. Latter, Henry, why should not we bring that bureau down here now? We could do it before they come. He was saying, Mrs. Latter, okay, we will go and bring that bureau. Okay, because now Elizabeth is going to come. Then Henry, I would not care to. Mrs. Latter, don't look so daft. Why not? Henry, it doesn't seem delicate somehow. Mrs. Latter, we could put that shabby old chest of drawers upstairs where the bureau is now. Where bureau is right now, we are going to keep drawers over there. Elizabeth could have that and welcome. I have always wanted to get rid of it. Henry, suppose they come when we are doing it. So they were saying that they want to hide that bureau. So Henry was saying, okay, now if you do, suppose if they come in middle. Mrs. Latter, it will fasten the front door. Get your coat off, Henry, we will change it. Mrs. Slatter, it will run up and move the chairs out of the way. Victoria appears dressed according to her mother's instruction. Victoria, will you fasten my frock up the back? Mother, she was asking her mother. To Mrs. Slatter, I am busy, get your father to do it. So she was saying to fasten her frock. Look at here. But Mrs. Slatter, actually they were very, very much busy because their Mrs. Slatter's sister, she's coming. So they want to keep everything perfectly. Victoria, what have you got your coat of fur? Father, Henry, Mother and me is going to bring grandfather's bureau down here. Henry was saying, I and your mother, we are going to bring grandfather's bureau. So they are bringing grandfather's bureau. Look at here. Okay, actually their plan is to bring that because Henry is very much interested in this bureau. So this is a discussion between father, mother and daughter, father, mother. So here father and mother. Who are they? Henry and Mrs. Slatter. Both were talking about this bureau because Henry, he was very much interested in this bureau. But he said that Elizabeth is going to come. So who is Elizabeth? Mrs. Slatter's sister. So she is going to come. So she is going to take, I think she may take this bureau. So Henry and Mrs. Slatter, they were very much busy in to keep it upstairs, down here, bureau down. Okay, mother and me is going to bring grandfather's bureau down. So they want to keep it down. Okay, Victoria, are we pinching it before Aunt Elizabeth's come? Henry, shocked. No, my child. Grandpa gave it your mother before he died. So Henry was saying, no, ma. Actually, your grandpa gave to your mother. Victoria, this morning? Henry, yes. Victoria, he was drunk this morning. Henry, hush. You must not ever say he was drunk now. Hush. You must not ever say he was drunk now. Don't say to anyone. Henry was saying to her daughter, don't say that he was drunk. Okay? Grandpa was drunk. Mrs. Slatter, I thought I would fetch this down as well. Our clock's worth nothing and this always appealed to me. Victoria, that's Grandpa's clock. Even they are talking about Grandpa's clock. Okay. Mrs. Slatter. Chut. Be quiet. It's your now. It's ours now. Come, Henry. Lift your end. Victoria, don't breathe a word to your aunt about the clock and the bureau. She was saying, keep quiet. Don't say to Mrs. Slatter was saying to Victoria, her daughter, don't say about this bureau and clock story to your Elizabeth aunt. So, okay? She was saying to her daughter, Victoria, I thought we would pinch them. Mrs. Slatter from upstairs, Victoria, if that's your aunt and uncle, you are not to open the door. So, somebody knocking the door. Then Mrs. Slatter was saying to her daughter, no, don't open the door. So, Victoria, look at here. So, actually, Elizabeth is about to come. So, here, somebody knocked their door. So, Mrs. Slatter. So, Victoria's father, Mrs. Slatter, Victoria's mother, Mrs. Slatter, who is she? Victoria's mother. So, Victoria's mother was saying to Victoria, don't open the door. Then Victoria peeps through the window. She was seeing from the window. Victoria, mother, it's them. Then Victoria was saying to her mother, yes, mother, it's them. Mrs. Slatter, you are not to open the door till I come down. So she was saying to her daughter, don't open. I'm going to come. Don't open till I come down. Let them knock away. Mind the wall, Henry. Mrs. Slater. That was a near thing. Open the door, Victoria. Now, Henry, get your coat on. Okay? Mrs. Slater, she was saying, that was a near thing. Now she was saying, open the door, Victoria. Now she was saying to Victoria, open the door. Okay? Henry, did we knock much plaster off the wall? Mrs. Slater, never mind the plaster. Do I look all right? Just watch Elizabeth's face when she sees we are all in half mourning. Okay? Throwing him tidbits. Take this and sit down. Try and look as if we had been waiting for them. So sit down. So and you sit as if we are waiting for them. Okay, you sit in that way. You act in that way as if we are waiting for them. Next. Now they entered. Okay, now they entered. Mrs. Jordan, who is she? Elizabeth. Well, Amelia. So she is sister of Elizabeth. Amelia. So he is gone at last. So she was saying to her sister, yes, now he was gone. Mrs. Slater, yes, he was gone. He was 72, a fortnight last Sunday. He was 72. So now, Ben. Now, Amelia, you must not give way. We have all got to die some time or other. It might have been worse. So he was saying, her sister's husband was saying, one day or other day everyone has to leave this world. Next. So they were talking about that father's death. As Elizabeth was entered their house. Mrs. Slater, I don't see how. Ben, it might have been one of us. Henry, it's taken you a long time to get here, Elizabeth. Henry was asking Elizabeth, it's taken you a long time to get here? He was asking to Elizabeth. Mrs. Jordan, that Elizabeth was saying, oh, I could not do it. I really could not do it. Mrs. Slater, could not do what? Mrs. Jordan, I could not start without getting the morning. Mrs. Slater, we have ordered ours, you may be sure. I never could fancy buying ready-made things. She was saying, Mrs. Slater was saying to her sister, Elizabeth, we have ordered. They ordered for themselves, not for them. Mrs. Jordan, no, for myself it's such a relief to get into the black. And now perhaps you will tell us all about it. What did the doctor say? What doctor said? She was asking Elizabeth. Mrs. Slater, oh, he is not been near yet. Now, Mrs. Jordan, not been near. Ben, did not you send for him at once? Mrs. Slater, of course I did. Do you take me for a fool? I sent Henry at once for Dr. Pringle, but he was out. So, Elizabeth was saying that, had you consulted a doctor? So, Mrs. Slater was saying, once I had sent Henry to Dr. Pringle, but he was out. Ben, you should have gone for another. Mrs. Jordan, oh, yes, it's fatal mistake. Mrs. Slater, Pringle attended him when he was alive and Pringle shall attend him when he was dead. That's professional etiquette. Ben, well, you know your own business best. But, Mrs. Jordan, yes, it's a fatal mistake. Mrs. Slater, don't talk so silly. Elizabeth, what good what good could a doctor have done? So Mrs. Jordan was saying to her sister, Mrs. Slater, that is, Elizabeth was saying to her sister, you could have called a doctor. But at that time, doctor was not there. Mrs. Slater was saying to her sister, Elizabeth, Henry, that's when they have been drowned. Your father was not drowned, Elizabeth. Ben, there was not much fear of that. If there was one thing he could not bear, it was water. Mrs. Jordan, Ben, Mrs. Slater, I'm sure he was regular enough. Mrs. Jordan, if he did take a drop too much at times, we will not dwell on that now. Mrs. Slater, father had been merry this morning. He went out soon after breakfast to pay his insurance. She was saying that her father had gone out. Ben, my word, it's a good thing he did. Mrs. Jordan, he always was thoughtful in that way. He was too honorable to have gone without paying his premium. Okay? His father, he had gone out to pay his insurance. So it's a good thing. Before his death, he went to pay his insurance. Who is he? Mrs. Slater's and Mrs. Jordan's father. Look at here. Well, he must have gone round to the Ringo bells afterwards, for he came in as merry as a sandy boy. I says, we are only waiting for Henry to start dinner. Dinner, he says, I don't want no dinner, I'm going to bed. Ben, dear. Henry, and when I came in, I found him undressed sure enough and snug in bed. Mrs. Jordan, yes, he would had a warning. I'm sure of that. Did he know you? Henry, yes, he spoke to me. Mrs. Jordan, did he see he would had a warning? Henry, no, he said. Henry, would you mind taking my boots off? I forgot before I go into bed. Mrs. Jordan, he must have been wandering.